All right, folks. Apparently, I am live, and I've never done this before, so I don't know how it works. But I wanted to go live because somebody suggested in the comments. It might just be me and one other person. But let me see if I can pull up. All right. Well, if anybody would like to show up, I don't think anybody will because I'm not a huge town. I don't have a huge following, but if anybody shows up here, I would be happy to try to address any questions you may have about the finale. I did do my 2 reviews already that are essentially my thoughts on the 2 episodes. But if anybody does have some thoughts that you'd like me to address, I'm here to help you address them. If you're interested, I see. Oh, there's like 3 people online. Hey, how's it going? Miles Hopewell, what's going on, guy? Yeah, so like I just uploaded episode 17's thoughts. Yes, here we are, indeed. Yes, I just uploaded episode 17. Episode 18 is going to be up in a second. My thoughts on it. Yeah, OMFG is correct, Miles. That was a really, yeah, it was kind of mind blowing. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, there we go. I saw it. I was the one that commented the idea. You should thank me. LOL. Thank you. Thank you. You're the only guy in my chat room, but it's all good, man. So, what are your thoughts, man? Like, what do you think about? Do you think that the show is going to continue, or do you think that the final episode was like David Lynch basically saying, "This is my open-ended conclusion to my show, to my story, and that's it"? Or do you think like this is a legitimate cliffhanger that he intends to follow up? I'd even love to call in if I could, but man, we've been trolled for sure. We've been trolled. All right. Well, I don't mind being trolled. It's part of being on the internet. Anyway, I call in. I don't know how the call in would work. I've never done this, by the way. What happened to Red? Diane, you mean? Yeah, that's a good question. Like, so you have to wonder, like, when they pass that threshold on the road, when like they stopped and he like checked the like electric current or whatever it is that he checked, like you have to wonder what that point was. Like, was that an entrance to an alternate dimension? Like, because he said things might be different. The coin tosser with Richard. The coin tosser with Richard. Red. The coin tosser with Richard. So Richard is Audrey Horne's son. Coin tosser. Yeah, you gotta be more specific, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, we've been trolled by fucking David Lynch. Oh, you're saying we were trolled by David Lynch. That's what you're saying. You're saying that David Lynch has trolled us with this final episode. I don't believe that. I don't believe he's trolled us. Like he's like, I've said it like the entire time. Like he is a true artist, and so whatever he intended to happen with this series is what happened, and I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Anyway, it looks like there's nobody here. I didn't expect anyone to be here because really, oh wait, there's somebody there. Richard Horne. He flipped a coin in episode 6. His character reminded me of Frank Booth, and he was with Shelley too. Look, all I can assume at this point is that the show is not over. That's the best I can assume because even that last scene in episode 16 where we see Audrey in like this alternate dimension. Red, I meant not Richard Horne. I hope. Red, I meant not Richard Horn. You're talking about Banshee from X-Men First Class. That's what you're talking about? Where he was with that chick in that tree, like in the forest, like lying next to a tree. Okay, so what I was saying is, like, it's very likely, in my opinion, that the show is likely not over, and that intentionally, obviously, there are a lot of open fucking plot lines that have yet to be resolved. Like Audrey Horne, where the fuck is Audrey Horne? Audrey Horne is somewhere, and it wasn't even addressed these last two episodes, even though we were essentially left in the final episode. Yeah, right? Super, like, big time, we assumed a reveal, but was it a reveal? Or, like, Becky. Becky was Red's girlfriend? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, anyway. Damn, and Sarah Palmer. I know. I know. I don't think we were trolled, though, Miles. I do not believe we were trolled. Like, you gotta remember, like, if you go back and watch all of David Lynch's movies, like, they're fucking weird, all right? And, like, no matter how much sense you might try to make of them, and you can make a lot of sense out of them because they're very abstract, so you can, extract a lot of meaning. You can read into the symbolism. Becky was Shelley's daughter. Right, Becky. Right, I mean, when last we saw Becky, like, she was in the restaurant when that weird scene happened with Bobby. I don't think we saw her after that. I don't know, man. All right, so I see what you're saying with the trolling, because there are all these things, these open plot lines that just never got resolved or acknowledged again. But there's two potential reasons for that. One, there's more to come. For sure, Eraserhead is a cult classic, right? Yes, Eraserhead is a cult classic. Blue Velvet, fucking Mulholland Drive is pretty cool. There's a ton of others. But anyway, like, everything the guy does, like, is for a reason. We may not know those reasons, and he may intentionally be leaving it open because, like, that's what art is sometimes supposed to be. It's supposed to be abstract, and sometimes we're not supposed to know exactly what the intention is. It's supposed to just kind of let us discover the intention for ourselves, our own versions of what the artist might have intended. So that a lot of what may have happened throughout the series, even with, like, these character arcs that never went anywhere, maybe that him just basically commenting, that is the nature of our lives, folks. Like, stories happen, but, like, they're not necessarily interconnected, and they don't necessarily always, like, kind of go the way we expect them to. Sometimes it just stops. Sometimes it goes and then nothing really happens. Like, that's life. And so I think in part this might be a comment on that aspect of life on the part of David Lynch. He's very metaphysical. He's got his a meditation institute or whatever. Like you got to think that, like, a lot of what we see here is meant to kind of have us just basically sit and fucking meditate about, either what actually happened or the lack thereof, But on top of all that, this is still a television show, and he does acknowledge that in the sense that he made 18 episodes. That's a good point. I'm glad to get a lot of satisfying artwork from Lynch. Dude, like, that's what he is. Like, he's not like one of these hack fucking hire me and I'll make a television show, and that's, like, he wasn't, like, sitting around waiting for someone to pay him to do this. Like, he's just been thinking up a story, and when he finally had a story, or maybe he had this story for a while, but he was just waiting for somebody to let him do it his way, and he finally got a chance to do it his way, and that's what we got, and I'm really happy about it because it's fucking dope. I mean, it's just a great. I mean, I understand there's a lot of frustration in terms of, like, us wanting resolution and all this shit, but, like, you gotta go beyond that, because like I said in my my episode 18 video, which just uploaded, like this may, like, in part, the show is him basically commenting on our desires for resolution and completion to the narratives that we watch in life or even experience in life. Was it just me, or was the first appearance of the glass box so goddamn satisfying? Excuse my French. You're welcome to use French here. Let's just call this Little France, shall we? Yeah, man, that glass box. That was really interesting. That was a really interesting element. And yeah, like that whole first sequence when like that couple got killed, I was like, whoa, this is like some intense and pretty cool whatever it may have it seemed to have been. I love that. I was gonna say I love that didn't go anywhere, but then again, I really do truly believe, like now that I'm like thinking through some more stuff that really wasn't touched upon at all in this final episode, like we must be having more after this. Like even though like I could totally see this final episode being like David Lynch just basically saying there is no resolution. Like even though you got what you kind of wanted, all those people waiting 25 years, like I'm not gonna give you completely what you want, and I'm gonna leave things like unresolved, because I like them that way. Maybe that's what he intended, but maybe fucking Showtime already told him like we're gonna do more, and he's maybe developing, maybe who knows how many season, arc to explain it fucking all, like these shadow men, that fucking explosion that created Bob, the duality between Bob and Laura, fucking, and like now like the implications of a change past on a present, and also like the interaction of that with potential multiple realities, like multiple dimensions. Like there's a lot to fucking go into, and then of course all the fucking storylines with all the characters, right? I mean, we got that big Ed and Norma, like kind of resolution to their story, right? Like their love affair that like was that we always kind of wanted to happen, but was always being held back by the one-eyed chick, the girl with the eye patch, and then finally she allows him to go with Norma, and Norma's available, and they get together, and it's one of those like happy moments that the fans have probably wanted forever. Like we got shit like that, but that's it, really. That's all we got. I was so intrigued by the foam box that held the video. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, yeah, but like again, that's just like a really intriguing sort of element that David Lynch is really good at creating, because like everything, all the kind of weird shit in the show is very fucking unique, right? Like he's a very creative guy. Him and Mark Snow, like they're creative guys. Like they just come up with like random shit. Like I'm sure they just throw random shit together, and like sometimes like it seems to work for them, and sometimes it doesn't. A lot of what doesn't they probably leave out. But like that, yeah, the whole concept of that box, maybe being like a transistor or something for these like otherworldly entities, which draws them in. The ringing noise, haha. The ringing noise. Ringing noise. I like the noise that we always hear, like the background, kind of that sort of like this like ominous, like fucking industrial noise that's always happening in the background. I don't know exactly which noise you were talking about, but David Lynch is really good at fucking creating the ambiance from the Great Northern. From the Great Northern. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. But the Great Northern, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know a lot. I try to figure out the show, and I try to appreciate the sort of filmmaking, but yeah, like all the details, I try not to get too caught up with them, because I know that A, they're likely not going to lead anywhere, and B, if they are, then I'll just be patient and actually let them be revealed, right, through the show. Because you know, like if you go into this knowing what David Lynch's shtick is, then you're good. Cooper and Gordon follow the same ring that Ben Horn heard earlier in the show. Okay, all right. All right. Ben Horn. That was the uncle, right? Um, yeah. I have no theories on that. I have no theories on that. Yeah, Ben Horn is a mystery. We saw him running through the forest for a few episodes, and apparently, well, we know where he got, and then apparently he took all his clothes off at some point. Yeah, yeah. I really thought that that would lead us to Audrey, but apparently not. But the fact that we didn't that Audrey was not addressed whatsoever in this episode after what we saw at the end of the last episode tells me that there has to be another season coming. I don't think he would have done that if there wasn't another season coming. But then again, if like he changed the past, right? Like if the past has now been changed and the present is completely different, then does any of that other stuff matter? You know? Does any of it matter? Because we don't really know. LOL. If there's a season 4, you gotta let me call in on the premiere. Yeah, sure. I don't know how to do the call-in thing, but yeah, I guess I could try to figure that out. But I mean, there's got to be, right? Like yeah, like just thinking more about it, and like some of the stuff that you're mentioning about these other characters, like he's got to have more planned. And like I said, like I don't know if you checked out my last video, like for 16, but I did find I did read like a tweet or something from Showtime that said that the president of Showtime said the show was financially successful, and so that must mean that they're okay with making more, and so it sounds like David Lynch would be into it. So I don't know why they wouldn't make more. Like why not? Like people were talking about this. Obviously, it wasn't getting the Game of Thrones numbers, but people have been talking about this show, and I think now that it's all done, it's available, and people can kind of binge it, it might draw in even a bigger crowd, you know, and that may be even more incentive for Showtime to get on the horn, Audrey horn, as it were. Anyway, yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a season 4? Like, do you think that that's very likely? Are you pissed off about this episode, the last one, or are you happy with it? What do you think happened? Do you think the past was changed? Like, what? So when Laura disappeared, Skype or Snapchat would work, but yeah, I hope so. TP has always been weird, and the endings, such as yeah, it's true. It's always fucking weird. Like that's just the nature of that shit. It's just fucking weird. Do you think that? Do you think that Do you think they were in a different dimension and an alternate timeline? Because again, like they drove through that one point that where they stopped. Him and Diane stopped, and then they went into wherever. I mean, that was a significant crossing, right? Like we don't know exactly why they weren't explicit about it, but it was a significant crossing. So that would imply they entered into maybe an alternate dimension. But we also know that the timeline was changed because Laura never died, was never killed, and so. Are we talking about alternate timeline and alternate dimension? Because that's fucking weird as fuck, and signature. That would be signature Twin Peaks. That would be signature Twin Peaks. Yeah, I like because okay, so Cooper gets Laura or Carrie, I guess her name was, takes her back to her house, and is it her house? Like, no, it's not. It's like somebody else's house. Now, if the timeline had been changed, then I could see the family having moved at some point. But actually, no, the timeline was changed from the night that Laura died. And so that would imply that obviously her family was still in that house. At first I thought that version of Laura was a tulpa, but I can't explain the Sarah Palmer situation. And it's also tulpa. Yeah, that's the word. Tulpa. Well, I'm sure the one that was in the Black Lodge was a tulpa. But this other one, maybe? I don't know, because Cooper was convinced that was her, you know? Cooper was convinced it was her, and he knew to go get her there. Like maybe the tulpa in the Black Lodge had whispered to him where she would be when he whispered in his ear. Maybe. Shit, I don't know, man. I hope we get another fucking season. That's that's the bottom fucking line here. I hope we get another season. If we don't get another season, like I said in my 18 video, it's cool. It was a really good episode. It was a really great. This last couple episodes were great, and the whole season was fucking great and very enjoyable. And if you think back to what existed for this storyline, 25 fucking years ago, it wasn't much, They ended with her disappearing in his ear. They ended with her whispering in his ear. I don't think they ended it with that. That was just a shot of what we had already seen. I think they did, right? No, they ended it with her screaming, and then you hearing in the house something about Laura or something, and then it just going black. And then they did end it on that shot of her whispering in his ear, but it wasn't her whispering in his ear at that moment. That was just a shot from that scene that actually had occurred, back in episode 2 or something. I'm sorry, the other person that commented, I didn't get to read your comment. Maybe you could paste it again or something, and I'll read it. I apologize. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm very are you happy with it? Are you overall happy with this whole thing? Because I am. I'm pretty happy with it. In fact, I'm looking forward to sitting down and kind of watching it all together. I know they did that marathon today. I didn't get to do the marathon, but to kind of sit down, and just kind of watch the whole thing. It would be cool to see. I don't want to give it. I can't devote the time to it right now. But start over once again. Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks, season 1, and then most of season 2. I think some of season 2 can be skipped. After we get the reveal from Leland. I'm hella satisfied with 1 through 8. That's less than half the show, Miles. That's less than half the show. You're talking about 10 more episodes that happened after that. I have a feeling that if the show continues into a season 3, that you will see that you will like more of this season probably. If he actually gets a chance to continue it. 9 through 18 were good, but not as satisfying. I don't know, man. I really liked that episode 16. I thought episode 16 was fucking awesome. In fact, I think it might have been my favorite episode where, Dougie finally emerges as Cooper. That was pretty fucking great. Because it was such a smooth transition from the Dougie character into the familiar Cooper. It was it went right into it. I think the reason why the clock in the sheriff station was stuck because all of episode 18 happened in that time frame and not affect the current key. Let me think. All of episode 18 did not affect that timeline. But in episode 17, we did have Cooper in the past altering the past. Cooper was in the past, saving Laura Palmer from getting killed, and that happened in 17. After that moment, but how could it just have happened in those few minutes and not? I don't know. It would be weird for everything to just kind of not have any implications, like everything we saw past the sheriff's station, because it's so fucking dramatic. It's such a drastic fucking series of events, right? For Cooper to go back in time and stop Laura Palmer from getting killed. I mean, that's a dramatic fucking turn of events, and for that to have no like implications, like in terms of like their continuity would be strange, But again, like if there isn't any more, and this is David Lynch is basically saying we're done. This is how I'm ending it. Like then it's him basically saying like it's his like final commentary on like sort of the randomness of life and like how the world, the universe is not like easily tied up, But I think you're right, X. I'm probably gonna regret saying all of this. I missed what you said there. Time seems to have no effect on lodge entities, and since Cooper and Laura seem to be lodge entities, they could exist. I don't know, because Cooper's not a lodge entity. Remember, he went into the Black Lodge in season 2, at the end of season 2. And then Doppel Cooper came out, but really he split into 2 in there. I guess in the sense that he split into 2, he could be a Black Lodge entity. And time has no significance, and they can exist simultaneously. I mean, it's an interesting theory, but so think about it, like, I'm just trying to imagine, like, why take us down that? If you're right about the storyline about just them existing simultaneously in different timelines, then maybe this was the ending. Maybe this was David Lynch basically saying, I'm going to give you guys a relatively happy ending of like undoing like the horrible event that kind of started all of this. But then I'm also going to establish like just random shit. I'm so devoted to this show. I'll be rewatching From Fire Walk With Me to episode 18. Yeah. No, I mean, why not? Like, it's a really great experience. I would totally do that. I'll probably do it myself as well at some point. I was really happy with like how he went into Fire Walk With Me, just like they did in fucking Back to the Future Part 2 when they went into Back to the Future Part 1. Like, we went back into Fire Walk With Me, and then he actually had, is her name is Cheryl Lee that plays Laura Palmer? Yeah, they actually had her play Laura Palmer again. And obviously he had her at a distance, and there might have been some of that de-aging technology effect that we saw in, the Marvel films with like Michael Douglas and Kirk Douglas, what's his name from fucking Escape from New York. Anyway, that whole technology, they must have done the same thing with Laura Palmer here. Obviously, they did because she was young again. That was cool. It was cool to see that. Anyway, God, guys, there's a lot to think about. Okay, so there's 3 of you in there. How many of you think that we will have a season 4? Miles, I know you are. Did you say you think there's going to be a season 4? Or because for me, I think I'm like I'm on the fence. Like it could go either way at this point. Like this could be the end that he intended, or it could be fucking yet another cliffhanger to a lot more story that he's planning to tell. Could be either of those things. No season 4, I think. Shit. All right. I doubt it, but I'm hopeful. Well, there you go. We should be hopeful. We should be hopeful. Because, obviously he's got a lot of fans, and like I said, Showtime's had said that the show was a financial success. So, I mean, like all the ducks are in place, right? Like all the pieces are where they need to be. You should do reviews and reactions for the channel to your rewatches of the old show. Hey, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, and maybe like comment on like the connections to from the old show to the current show. Like maybe try to make a little bit more sense of what we actually saw versus what we did not see in this current show. Yeah, like, you really got to think. Like again, I'm going back in my mind to like that Audrey Horne moment at the end of episode 16. Like to me, like you don't do something like that without having more of a plan for that character, that storyline, that story arc. Like it's got to be going somewhere, you know. But then again, like I said in that episode's review, it was basically implied in that episode that when Doppel Cooper, like, because there was that whole story about him and Diane, where Diane talked about like her getting raped, and then it turns out she's one of these tulpa things. And when that happened, I figured, okay, then and given what we saw at the end of the episode, like Audrey must have been somewhere. So like, I'm with Ricky on this one. No doubt it, but so damn hopeful. Yeah. I mean, we'll all be hopeful, you know. Probably the people that will be the most hopeful, though, are the actors, because most of these people have not worked in 25 years. So some of them have worked, very little. Kyle MacLachlan's like the one, right? So I think Sarah was possessed by Mother of Evil. She prevented Cooper from getting Laura home. That scene smashing the photo precedes. You're right. You're right. That scene did precede it. When she stabbed the photo, like that stopped Cooper from changing things. That's a good point. Scott, I had the same thought. Great thoughts, guys. Great thoughts. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, Mother of Evil, yeah, she's got to be Judy, right? Like, she's got to be, like the central evil responsible for all this that gave birth to that egg, the Bob egg, right? That thing that we saw in episode 8 that was kind of like, you know, gaseous, or, I don't know, it seemed to, like it didn't have, like, it was very amorphous, but then we saw, like, the Bob egg come out of it. But that's got to be Judy, right? Like, that thing had to be Judy, right? Cooper defeated Bob, but not Judy. Right, yeah. Judy must be what's inside of Sarah Palmer, right? It's the house. It seems like Cooper and Laura need to keep jumping through time until they can avoid or defeat the mother. I bet it's the house? The house, huh? Well, if Jeffries can be a giant tea kettle, then you might be right, you know? Like, the ceiling fans are even creepy. Yeah, it's true. And even that dresser, man. I remember, like, just like that one shot in Fire Walk with Me where Laura, like she looks over and she sees, like, Bob next to the dresser, and it's really just like the actor Bob, like, next to the dresser, and it was like just objectively a very normal situation, just this gray-haired guy next to a dresser. But the fact that it was, like, in that house and it was in Twin Peaks, like, it was creepy as fuck. That's like one of the creepy. I remember when I saw that as a kid, it stuck with me. Whenever I looked at dressers, I got a residual creepiness from them because of that. So yeah, there's something about that house, but I don't think it's the house. Really, because I mean, think about what we saw in episode 8, and think about that thing. Remember that thing that remember, like, the dirty bearded men, like they played that music and they put the whole town to sleep, and then that one thing that crawled out of that, I guess, the explosion, the nuclear bomb explosion, that weird fucking roach fly creature that went into that woman's mouth, that was like a tangible thing, right? And that must have been like, I don't know. It's not the house. It's some other fucking thing. It's like, and we may never know, but like we definitely know more than we did 25 years ago. So that's a good thing, you know. We've come a long way, folks, from one state of complete fucking confusion to like a completely different and completely unexpected state of fucking confusion. But that's the joy of the show, you know, and that's the joy of David Lynch. You know, doing this thing he did for us. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up unless anybody has any other questions or theories you guys want to throw out there. The bug was never elaborated. No, it never was, you know. Well, that's the thing. It's like a lot has not been elaborated, and really that's like I keep emphasizing, like that's David Lynch's style. He's very much about like open-ended, abstract elements that just are meant to make the audience's imaginations kind of go wherever they will, you know. Really highlighting the nature of film as an art form versus just a vehicle to tell really tight stories. Like the complete opposite of what we see in the show is Game of Thrones. You know, everything in Game of Thrones is coming together perfectly as it better, you know, because that's what we know Game of Thrones to be, and that's what we've always been expecting. So we expect everything to come together. But this is like the antithesis of that, you know? David Lynch has never been about that. Even with his resolution of like the murder of Laura Palmer, like I saw an interview with him, and he sounded so disappointed about the fact that he had to resolve it, that he had to resolve the murder. Like the studio, like the network, apparently put a lot of pressure on him to resolve the killing of Laura Palmer, and that's why we got it like in the middle of the second season, which basically killed the audience and therefore ultimately killed the show. But like in that interview, he said like it was like the golden egg that would have kept on giving, like that murder of Laura Palmer, and really like he even was able to take advantage of that now, you know, even after having resolved it, now that he was free to do whatever the hell he wanted, like basically he went back to the same thing. But he was so disappointed by the fact that like that he had to resolve that storyline, and so he's not about resolving storylines. You know, that's not his thing. And you got to appreciate him for it. You know, I appreciate him for it. I appreciate him fucking sitting down, writing an 18-hour movie, directing it, and fighting, you know, to let them to let him do it his own way, and for us to get it. You know, in the end, it is what it is. There's a lot of unresolved shit, but it's a great 18-hour movie, 18-hour David Lynch movie. I fucking love it. All right, folks, I'm gonna call it a night unless anybody has any comments or questions or theories you want to throw out there. But if not, it's been a really great adventure, and I really fucking hope and I pray that that we will have another season of the show. And if we do, then yeah, come back, folks. Let's talk more about this craziness. But yeah, I'm gonna think about going back and maybe doing like some retro reviews on the original show, and maybe throwing out some comments. Cheers, man. Yeah, it's been a great season, Scott Harris. Really great season, and has so much rewatchability value, right? Because you know there's a lot of shit we miss, right? There's a lot of little things, and now that we know where it went, there's a lot of stuff that we might be able to pick up on, you know, in a second viewing. I stay tuned for the rewatches. Hell yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let's maybe I'll do some videos on rewatches. We'll see. Anyway, guys, it's been an adventure, and I hope you all have a great night. And I wish you all the very best. And we will see each other soon. Take care, guys. Bye bye.